Steam hides nothing. Night in Rome's baths, marble sweats. The air tastes of oil and brass. A senator bends close, the room hushes. He whispers one name, a stranger dries his hands. The stranger scratches it onto wax, still wet. By sunrise, that whisper wears a charge. Maestas treason. Stay because bathwater is about to turn into subpoenas. Rome's bathhouse is the city's living room. Nothing stays private once the steam rises. Marble sweats. Bronze hisses under wet light across stone. Oil glows where footprints slide and vanish. Men undress while rank only pretends to undress. Equality lasts one sentence. Privacy policy, written on water. Under Tiberius, the rules tighten. Rome's second emperor prefers distance to noise. Confession is voluntary. Outcomes are mandatory. Sejanus writes whether everyone breathes. Praetorian prefect, captain of the emperor's guard. Order by climate. Mercy by shortage. Insignia melt in heat. Destinies harden inside whispers. State law stretches until jokes fit the shape. The majesty rule. Treason by insult. No minutes are taken inside these rooms. Outside, a scribe waits with warm wax tablets. Notarius, the court scribe with a steady hand. He dries breath into statute and salary. Comfort becomes obedience in 3 practiced steps. The walk is short, from bath to court, on polished stone. Property moves first. Pity arrives late. The bath stays warm. Betrayals keep schedule. Citizens enter lighter. Some leave indicted. Who profits when small talk hardens into seizures and charges? The stranger nearest the hot pipe listens. The towel drops, and the case begins. His name is Marcus Aquilius Regulus. Regulus, a notorious delator in the early empire. Delator, a professional accuser paid by the courts. Delation, the business of turning talk into profit. He does not lift weights. He lifts words. He studies doors and benches and favorite corners at noon. He sits near the hot pipe and waits. He never bathes first. He listens first. Steam blurs faces and lowers names into safe mist. He drops a simple line and watches it grow. Strange how tribute keeps rising. Someone answers and adds a name without thinking. He nods and leaves early with dry hands. A notarius waits outside with warm wax tablets. One line becomes 4 lines before the doorway cools. By dusk, the notes become intelligence for a patron. By dawn, the whisper wears a state charge. Payment arrives later in quieter rooms with locked lids. Land and office follow like sandals on wet stone. Enemies disappear and call it providence. He works clean while others get wet. He shapes rumors until they pass inspection at court. Truth is optional. Plausibility pays better. He will thrive later under Nero and Domitian. Names change under Tiberius. The method stays. He tunes his ear to money and fear. People talk to feel lighter and safer in steam. He sells the weight they just let go. Next, we meet the law that pays for steam. Lex Majestatis protects the majesty of Rome. At least that is what the tablets say. In practice, it protects budgets and nerves. It began as treason in war and siege. Now it measures lips inside warm rooms. Insult a statue and you threaten the state. Question an edict and you question majesty. Tell the wrong joke, then watch property move. Jurists will tidy the words after the damage. Ulpian writes commentary in crisp legal Latin. Ulpian, a Roman jurist whose notes outlive emperors. The court reads him when mercy feels risky. Judges hear intent, then bill it as certainty. Proof is flexible when the treasury is hungry. Justice is blind, and very good at counting estates. Rome hates waste, especially other people's property. A whisper becomes charge if it helps the budget. Confiscations fund altars and aqueducts and careers. Informers take a share and call it virtue. Senators nod because nodding is cheaper than courage. The law loves steam because steam blurs intention. Heat makes speech brave and records stay dry. Delators harvest that bravery for the winter. The city calls it order. The victims call it theft. File your conscience. The clerk will stamp it paid. We have law now. Next, we need a stage. Follow the words out of steam and into court. The route from steam to sentence is short. A lictor taps your shoulder at breakfast. Lictor, a guard who carries fasces. You are invited to appear, not arrested. The basilica waits with benches and gods. Basilica, the public hall used as court. A praetor checks the docket and nods. Praetor, a magistrate who runs the case. The accuser speaks with polished nausea. He is shocked by your careless loyalty. Your bath words arrive dressed as records. Wax becomes papyrus before lunch. A senator remembers you said it twice. A freedman heard you repeat it thrice. Truth is adorable. Budgets are real. Justice is blind. But she reads ledgers. You mention steam and jokes and heat. The bench hears intent and public danger. The verdict begins before your lawyer stands. Lawyer, a brave person who must lose politely. Confession is optional, compliance is mandatory. Sentence prefers estates while blood stains paperwork. Estate goes first, then name, then travel. Exile if lucky. Silence if not. Regulus, the delator. He bows near a pillar and leaves. From caldarium to court, distance becomes profit. Sejanus builds climate where suspicion breathes easily. Sejanus, Praetorian prefect, captain of the emperor guard. He moves guards into the city and fear into lungs. He prefers places where rank dissolves, baths and dinners and darkness. When no one wears insignia, anyone can be royal or disposable. Delation becomes civic duty with a stipend. Informers call it service. The treasury calls it savings. Public virtue pays better than private loyalty. Tiberius watches from Capri and values silence. Tiberius, second emperor of Rome. Capri, an island retreat above the bay. Distance turns rumor into policy before noon. Edicts travel faster than mercy on dry roads. A whisper equals a trial minus the defense. Budgets applaud when courage loses quorum. Accusation becomes infrastructure. Witnesses are the traffic. He does not need every whisper, only enough. The market sets the price for breath. Fear is a public utility with stable supply. Sejanus falls in 31 CE. The climate does not. The prefect dies. The method lives. Baths stay warm. Notebooks stay dry. Men learn to speak in safe weather only. Loud about nothing. Quiet about everything else. The city calls it peace. The victims call it bookkeeping. We have an architect, and we have the map. Next, we follow one case from steam to sentence. Late afternoon turns the caldarium heavy in gold. Caldarium, the hot room where tongues loosen fastest. A mid-level equestrian vents about grain weights. Equestrian, Rome's business class below the Senate. He says the scales are rigged and the sacks light. He says the taxman smiles wider each week. Annona, the state grain supply that feeds the city. He wants names to burn and ledgers to open. The name slips out with the sweat on his lip. Sabinus. The steam swallows it and carries it 3 benches. Regulus sits near the hot pipe and listens. He does not bathe yet. He listens. He files the name inside a dry corner of thought. The equestrian laughs because the room laughs on schedule. He thinks heat forgives. Paper does not. He adds a detail about weights shaved at the Hurrium. Hurrium, a city warehouse where grain sleeps behind seals. He adds a time and a place and a witness. The witness is a towel boy with careful ears. Regulus stands and leaves with dry hands and no hurry. Outside, the notarius waits beside the doorway lamp. Notarius writes the name and the detail in wax. One line becomes 4 before the lamp flickers. By dusk, the tablet walks to a patron with wine. By dawn, the whisper wears a state charge. He should have bathed in silence. Next, the bath remembers witnesses inside the steam. Dawn steams the baths again and resets the stage. Regulus returns with a milder smile and dry hands. He needs witnesses, not truth. Masseur, bath attendant who needs oil and gossip. The masseur recalls a laugh near the grain talk. He recalls a toast to lighter sacks and heavier purses. Memory improves after a coin bath. Stoker, furnace man under the floor who feeds fire. He heard the room cheer through the bricks. He heard Sabinus named twice, maybe thrice. Numbers rise easily when heat does. Towel boy, runner who dries backs and collects secrets. He saw the equestrian point at the ceiling. He swears the finger meant the warehouse seals. Strigil, a bronze scraper for sweat and sense. The boy holds one and scrapes details for silver. Balneater, bathkeeper who rents benches and silence. He did not hear the joke. He can sign a statement that says he did. Regulus does not force. He suggests routes to safety. Safety pays better than courage on wet floors. Each story sharpens. Dates appear where none existed. Times fit the ledger. Witnesses fit the rows. A scribe polishes verbs until they shine like taps. The rumor stands upright and learns its legal name, deposition. Everyone nods because nodding is low risk. The net closes, with room for a few more fish. Next, the edit turns steam talk into court Latin. The edit begins in a cooler back room. Lantern light, dry tables, straight spines. Steam talk becomes court talk with fewer verbs. Jokes leave first, knives stay. A notarius opens yesterday wax and reads slowly. Notarius, the court scribe with a steady hand. He marks words that pass inspection without heat. He marks names that pay the bills. Bath slang becomes intent and capacity. The sacks felt light becomes intent to defraud supply. Anona, the state grain fund that feeds Rome. The room laughed becomes the public felt danger. Dates align with clocks that no one saw. Times find witnesses who were almost present. Almost becomes certainly after a careful pause. A second clerk copies to papyrus in neat lines. Scriba, a clerk who writes the official copy. Margins collect notes that weaken defense and memory. The charge learns its proper template. Formula, the shape of a case the court prefers. Intent, act, harm, majesty diminished. The story now breathes Latin with dry lungs. Verbs sharpen like strigils on a bath hook. Strigil, a bronze scraper for sweat and sense. A praeco rehearses how to read the case aloud. Praeco, the court herald who announces charges. Public attention is a legal resource with interest. Truth is optional. Consistency is mandatory. Dark humor does not help the accused. He said it as a joke. The page says he meant it. Seals close around the copy before lunch. The rumor has a docket number and a shelf. The edit is done. The knife remains. Next, the friend must speak and choose a side. A sealed tablet arrives at dusk. The friend reads and forgets to breathe. He is Gaius. Gaius, a childhood companion and partner in trade. Friendship in Rome is a contract. Fides, the duty to stand and pay. He lights a lamp and rehearses safe lines. He will say the room was loud. He will say heat distorts memory. He will not say the name he heard. A lictor waits at the corner with patience. Lictor, a guard who carries fasces. Tomorrow the court will need his memory. Tonight the city needs him quiet. Regulus visits with a courteous nod and dry hands. He praises loyalty and the blessings of prudence. He offers a route where everyone survives on paper. Safety beats courage on wet floors. Gaius tries a joke to buy time. I swore to stand by him during business hours. Dark humor travels fast and returns empty. He thinks about his shop and his sister dowry. He thinks about confiscations that walk faster than mercy. He chooses to live in the ordinary way. Notarius records what living will sound like tomorrow. He heard the words twice. He recalls the room, concerned. He remembers the laughter, public. Small changes add weight like water in cloth. Intent appears where warmth once settled. Truth is optional. Consistency is mandatory. Gaius signs with a steady hand that shakes later. He gives the court enough to pass inspection. He keeps a corner of silence for sleep. Friendship survives in reduced size and price. Courage survives in stories told after dinner. Next, the price gets written on a clean slate. The ledger opens before the baths cool. Quiet math begins with clean hands and dry tables. Aerarium, the state treasury. It counts without blinking and calls it service. A questor marks lines and seals the margin. Questor, a finance magistrate who supervises revenue. Estate is listed room by room and wall by wall. Olive press, store jars, pasture rights, a winter house. Fines convert stories into numbers that travel fast. Confiscation converts grief into inventory for the state. Procurator reviews the totals for a neat transfer. Procurator, the emperor agent in finance and property. The delator cut arrives like a tidy stipend. Regulus does not smile. He thanks the climate. Public virtue pays reliably when weather holds steady. Mercy is seasonal, usually out of stock. Sub hasta sales gather buyers near the spear. Sub hasta, auction under a spear as legal sign. Neighbors bid for familiar doors at a discount. They promise upkeep and keep the laughter low. The widow studies walls and counts seals on amphorae. She calculates silence for the children bedtime. The clerk notes her tears as evidence of order. Order bills by the hour and pays on time. The city applauds by pretending it never claps. Budgets balance. Names thin. Houses learn new keys. Informers sleep well and dream of better margins. Truth stays unfunded, but confiscation meets target. The list closes and the wax hardens flat. The price is written. The debt is social. Next, the rumor earns an echo with a careful historian. The echo arrives after the sentence. History always enters with dry hands. Tacitus listens for smoke after the fire. Tacitus, senator and historian. He writes when it is safe to write. Annals, year by year reports of power and damage. He collects names that politics forgot on purpose. He collects motives that money cleaned too well. He likes facts that still smell like steam. A clerk opens a drawer in the tabularium. Tabularium, the state record hall above the forum. Dockets sleep in neat lines like obedient soldiers. He lifts one tablet and calls it evidence. Tacitus reads slowly and hears the room again. Laughter becomes evidence of public danger. Heat becomes intent that chose the easy road. A joke becomes a knife that did not shine. He notes the delator and the cut he earned. He notes the widow and the jars she lost. He notes the senator who remembered twice. Memory improves when budgets need help. He writes without the perfume of mercy. He writes as if the benches could read back. He sketches Sejanus as a weather machine. He sketches Tiberius as distance that learned to rule. He admits what he cannot know about whispers. He admits the bath edits its own truth. He still builds a scaffold of likely lines. Dark humor holds the nails while he works. Years later, the case shrinks to a paragraph. The paragraph still smells like wet marble. Readers nod and think they would speak softly. They would not. They never do. Tacitus closes the drawer and keeps the echo. He files the story inside a colder season. Next, the trap springs where everyone can watch. The arraignment waits with a crowded hallway and news. The hallway swells before the doors open. Arraignment day pulls voices like heat pulls flies. Arraignment. The first call to answer the charge. The basilica hums with sandals and whispers. Praeco lifts a tablet and a voice. Praeco, the court herald who reads charges aloud. He names the equestrian and the warehouse dispute. He names the laughter as public danger. He names majesty as the wounded party. Incense rises near a small portable altar. Altar, a table for public piety inside the hall. The gesture is legal. The smoke is persuasive. The crowd arrived early because rumors arrived earlier. Leak is an art, not an accident. A clerk shared a copy at the baths. Private outrage turns public once the wine dries. Regulus looks pained and civic-minded. He calls himself reluctant. Duty forces his hand. The room nods because nodding is low risk. The accused stands and counts friends who look away. The bench watches and counts votes without speaking. A lictor anchors the aisle with a stare. Lawyers study wind and shuffle silent pages. Genius of the emperor receives a vow. Genius, the guardian spirit of the ruler. Piety plays well. Budgets play better. Praeco repeats the charge until it sounds inevitable. The clerk writes the echo as if it were fact. The hallway exhales when the doors finally close. Tomorrow brings arguments. Today sets the weather. Next, the defense walks uphill on polished stone. The defense walks uphill on polished stone. Advocatus. Defense counsel. He carries parchments and a calm that sounds expensive. We argue intention first. Heat bends memory and jokes are not daggers. Words float in steam. They do not keep edges. No harm followed the laugh inside the bath. We argue context next. The caldarium is ritual relaxation, not a Senate vote. Men boast and vent where oil softens judgment. A jest about sacks is not a plot against Rome. We argue character last. The equestrian paid levies and kept contracts. Neighbors call him tedious, which is the opposite of treason. Good fathers rarely stage coups before dinner. The prosecutor smiles without moving. Truth takes the stairs. The verdict uses the lift. Piety enters as a helper with incense. A small offering honors the ruler's spirit. Genius of the emperor, the guardian spirit of rule. Loyalty is staged, so mercy can enter by habit. The bench remains polite and heavy. A praetor asks if we deny the words. We deny intention. We deny injury. We deny danger. We do not deny the world loves neat paperwork. Witnesses of character repeat simple lines with clean shoes. Memory improves when courage goes missing. Consistency is mandatory. Tenderness is not. We request a fine without confiscation. We request exile as a last door. We request time for Rome to feel safe again. The court writes nothing yet. Silence rehearses the sentence in the margins. One eyebrow tilts the room. The room tilts before anyone speaks. Benches breathe, sandals whisper, pens stop. The praetor lowers his eyes and smooths the docket. Praetor, the magistrate who runs the case. He asks for counsel to approach and not to argue. A quiet cluster forms beside the bench. Concilium, the advisory panel of senators. They confer without moving their mouths. Experience speaks through eyebrows and silence. A clerk adjusts the stack so the right page sits first. Clerk, the keeper of order and time. Order arrives early. Mercy phones in late. The accused studies the floor pattern like a map. His lawyer folds a page that no longer matters. Regulus watches the ceiling and looks modest. A lictor shifts one pace closer to the aisle. Lictor, the guard with fasces and practice. Practice matters when verdicts need choreography. The praetor asks if anything remains for clarity. Truth tries to raise a hand. Budget shakes its head. The advisory panel nods in quiet sequence. One nod means proceed. Two means finish. We receive two. Justice stretches and calls it exercise. The city smiles by not smiling at all. The praetor thanks the parties for their dignity. He says the court values peace above noise. Everyone understands what peace will cost. The tilt is complete, though no words say it. Tomorrow writes the number. Today sets the face. Next, the sentence arrives dressed like housekeeping. The sentence arrives dressed like housekeeping. Sententia. The written decision that pretends to be tidy. The praetor reads with a steady indoor voice. He thanks the city for order and patience. He lists the parts as if folding linen. Confiscation of estate. Priority to the treasury. Priority to public peace. Interdictio. The ban that makes exile legal. Water and fire denied within Rome. Exile if lucky. Silence if not. Name removal follows like a careful haircut. Nomen deletum. The erased name on door and tablet. Neighbors learn to forget without looking strange. A lictor steps forward with practiced grace. Keys change places without breaking the lock. The house breathes a different surname by dusk. The widow stands still and counts sealed jars. Children ask if maps shrink on islands. Dark humor answers, only when budgets grow. Travel limits hide inside polite phrasing. Island assignments sound like weather reports. Insula, an island prison without walls. The lawyer bows because posture still pays. He files an appeal that will not matter. Paper travels slower than decisions about property. Regulus disappears toward a quiet courtyard. Stipend day. The climate pays its servants. The accused looks at his hands and counts fingers. He still has 10. He does not have a street. The court calls this balance and smiles inwardly. The bench rises and the hall exhales. Sandals scrape, incense thins, pens sleep. The sentence is done. The city is clean again. On paper. Next, the estate meets the spear and the buyers. The spear rises over the courtyard at noon. Hasta, the spear that marks a public auction. Doors stand open, ledgers stand taller. Praeco warms his voice and names the pieces. Praeco, the auction crier inside public sales. Olive press, lot 1. Store jars, lot 2. Garden rights. A winter room with north light. Neighbors bid like men blessing a funeral. Discounts pass as piety. Everyone understands the math. Argentarius counts fingers and numbers without losing a smile. Argentarius, a banker who carries bids and settles. Coactor collects coin and promises a clean receipt. Coactor, the collector who chases payments at auctions. Regulus stands back and looks modest in shade. His stipend arrives later through a quiet door. Sub hasta sales make grief legible on tablets. Sub hasta, sale under the spear as legal sign. A quaestor nods and seals a careful margin. Quaestor, A finance magistrate with keys to revenue. Accounts love clean weather. Silver walks faster than mercy. Furniture learns new names by evening. The widow returns keys she once owned. Children count amphorae that used to be theirs. Dark humor visits. The house is lighter now. The crowd laughs once and buys the laughter. The treasury thanks by never saying thanks. Rome calls it order. The victims call it arithmetic. Regulus receives a share the statute allows. Public virtue pays on time with dry hands. Wax hardens. Chalk vanishes. Books balance before dusk. Next, the neighborhood studies silence and learns safe weather. The street learns new rules by evening. Vicus, a neighborhood block with a small shrine. Doors stay open for air, not for talk. People praise the weather and discuss nothing else. Laughter gets louder. Content gets thinner. Children practice safe stories about dogs and rain. Shopkeepers sell oil and keep opinions wrapped. Collegium meets, then prays, then disperses early. Collegium, a trade guild that drinks and votes. A poster appears near the fountain at noon. Edict reminds citizens to guard the majesty. Majesty feels pain. Fines relieve the pressure. Neighbors test words like coins on stone. Heavy words chip. Light words survive. Men invent phrases that mean nothing and everything. Yesterday, he was unlucky. Today, the city is tidy. Dark humor visits and keeps its cloak on. We joke about dust, never about names. The towel boy learns to look at floors. The masseur counts tips and forgets conversations. The stoker listens only to fire and bricks. Windows are open, so everyone hears less. Friends switch to gestures that cannot be cited. A nod buys time. A shrug buys safety. Wives count jars and memorize quiet. Priests bless silence as if it were harvest. The market sells normal the way it sells bread. Normal is lighter than courage and cheaper. Night teaches the only reliable sentence. I did not hear it. The city calls this peace and sleeps better for it. Next, other baths copy the method and sell the franchise. The method travels faster than carts. Other baths copy the route from steam to sentence. Thermae expand the program with bigger rooms and echoes. Thermae, large public baths funded by the state. Balnea follow with cheaper benches and quicker gossip. Balnea, small neighborhood baths run by private owners. A keeper posts rules beside the oil shelf. Edictum, a public notice with tidy verbs. Please enjoy the facilities. Please respect the majesty. House style emerges for safer conversation. Praise weather, praise water, avoid names. Owners learn the math behind cooperation. Silence is policy. Revenue is gratitude. Informers receive towels and a private doorway. Notebooks get hooks beside the strigils. Strigil, a bronze scraper for sweat and scents. Training expands with new modules and smiles. How to ask a harmless question. Twice. How to leave early with dry hands. How to remember a joke as intent. How to locate a scribe without speaking. A patron funds improvements that carry sound well. Vaults that sing. Floors that forgive footsteps. A clerk suggests a quiet corner for notes. A priest blesses steam and calls it civic order. Dark humor visits. Marketing writes the vows. Franchise logic settles like warm mist. One whisper in, one tablet out, one cut for the delator, one cut for the house, one nod for the treasury, peace for the corridor. The city learns to export its climate. Roads carry jars and also procedures. A magistrate praises efficiency during inspection. He does not hear much. He hears enough. Baths keep steaming on time across districts. Copybooks keep dry on time across desks. The model scales without cracks in daylight. Next, the camera pulls back, and the system shows itself. The city removes its mask at arm's length. Rome did not need pain to make men speak. It needed comfort, heat, privacy, deniability. Caldarium makes confessions feel like rest. The bench prefers order that pays for itself. Budgets smile when evidence arrives pre-warmed. Public peace is a balance sheet with incense. The bath is not decoration, it is a tool. Comfort softens pride and loosens caution. Friendly lighting replaces torches and ropes. Efficiency replaces drama and banners. Tormentum was available in other courts. Tormentum, state torture used on slaves and suspects. Here the state found a cheaper solvent. Warm water, short distance, quick ledgers. The law does not chase truth. It chases shape. Shape wears a seal and walks on its own. Delators supply shape. Clerks polish edges. Majesty pretends to bruise and heals with fines. People relax where they feel equal. Equality in steam is a useful rumor. Insignia melt. Tongues lengthen. Memory blurs just enough. The market loves soft extraction and steady margins. Bathers talk to feel lighter. The state weighs it later. Receipts follow whispers like sandals follow wet floors. Priests bless calm as if it were justice. Genius of the ruler accepts predictable vows. Predictable vows reduce risk and audit time. The city calls this peace because doors stay quiet. The victims call it bookkeeping because doors change names. Both sides agree the water stays warm. Pull back farther and the pattern stays simple. Create comfort. Collect language. Convert to revenue. Call it order. Count the coins. Sleep well. This is the system when viewed without perfume. No torches, no drums, only steam and paper. Next, truth bathes last and pays full price. Morning returns, and the baths open on schedule. Steam lifts. Voices test the water again. The city celebrates by not mentioning yesterday. Order survived. That is the headline. The equestrian studies a shoreline without streets. Exile feels like weather that never changes. He counts boats. He stops counting friends. The widow learns new locks and older prayers. Children memorize silence like a table blessing. Neighbors practice safe words and safe faces. Regulus walks past a fountain without looking proud. Dark humor whispers. Modesty pays better than triumph. The treasury smiles by balancing a page. A clerk files the case between two similar cases. Docket numbers breed like neat fish. The system hums and calls it peace. The bath forgets quickly and remembers perfectly. Footprints vanish. Procedures remain. Comfort resets the room before noon. Pull back and nothing dramatic is required. Warm water, short distance, quick ledgers. Truth knocks last and finds the door already closed. Rome teaches a simple lesson without drums. Create comfort, collect language, convert to revenue, sleep well, count coins. Repeat. The floor dries. The incense thins. The city keeps its voice low. Truth bathes last. It pays full price.